Welcome to If Numbers Could Talk. My name is Keelan. If Numbers Could Talk is a part of the Thinkering Group. You can find us over at thinkering.space. You can also find at Thinkering Space the Thinkering Talks podcast, the Exofathom podcast, along with the Plank Talks with Joe. When you get a chance, please check out our merchandise. We have merchandise on our website, thinkering.space, as well as merchandise at teespring.com/thinkering shop. Please visit, grab a t-shirt, grab a mug. We'll appreciate it. And when you do, feel free to let us know that you've decided to become a member of any of our fan clubs. Here at If Numbers Could Talk, what we are dedicated to is the numbers. We are solely here to talk about numbers and appreciation, numbers and comparison, numbers and detriment, maybe even. But today, we are not talking about any detriment. We are only speaking of appreciation. Today's episode of If Numbers Can Talk is about two professional athletes who just recently acquired their fourth championship in the same number of played seasons. Same sport. However, you have the WNBA and the NBA. And for those who are already familiar, the two players I am talking about right now are LeBron James and Sue Bird. Today, I will be covering LeBron James and Sue Bird's 2020 NBA and WNBA finals stat lines for every single game they played in. Welcome to If Numbers Could Talk. My name is Keelan. Glad to have you. So here I came into this concept after finding out that both of them had both Sue Bird and LeBron James, both just acquired their fourth championship within the same amount of seasons, 17 seasons. I thought that was pretty cool. I thought that was pretty epic even. Also considering their ages, I felt this was just something that could be done. This is an amazing feat to begin with already. This isn't something that we've seen before. This isn't something that, well, I can't say we won't see it in the future as time goes. It's like people are just able to play longer. They're healthier. Everything works for them. But what I found very interesting is how people look at numbers with championships. Everybody only wants to know who the MVP was. Everyone only wants to know who had the highest score total of each game, and or maybe who had the lowest score total if it happened to be one of the bigger names. But while breaking down these two series, or going through these two series, I didn't really break them down, going through the stat lines of these two athletes through these series, what I came to the conclusion was, and I come to this conclusion very often on this show, when you understand your job or what is needed of you in a certain situation, you can become the most important piece of any team. And I believe that LeBron James and Sue Bird, they proved that every single game of the finals of 2020. Now, for those who are not aware, LeBron James has been in 3 different teams in his career. He started with the Cleveland Cavaliers, went to the Miami Heat. He is now on the Los Angeles Lakers. Sue Bird has spent the duration of her WNBA tenure with the Seattle Storm. I believe that is the only team she's played with. My research showed me that was the only team she played with. And through my memory, that is the only team she played with. I remember a time with Sue Bird. Anyone who's watched me before, I'll say it again. I watched some WNBA when I was a little younger, not as much as time moved on. And I think it had more to do with coverage for me. I love basketball. So any chance I get to learn or watch some new moves or pick up some fundamentals or play whatever, that's just who I am. Like, I love it. So I remember there was a point where, and this was not her nickname, like publicly, I don't think, but I considered Sue Bird Sue Storm because she played for the Storm. Her name is Sue, and it just kind of fit. Like, I would always try to say, oh, you know Sue Bird, and I would say, you know Susan Storm, and I'm like, wait, that's not her real name. That's what I call her. And I don't even think anyone else recognizes her that way. Not because she's not a great player. She's an amazing player. Just nicknames aren't really a thing that I've seen in the WNBA. Even like Lisa Leslie, Candace Parker. I'm from LA, so you would think, there was some nicknames, and there are nicknames out there, but there aren't known nicknames. Like everyone calls LeBron King James. I can't say that for any WNBA player to my knowledge. Please correct me if I'm wrong. I would like to be wrong on this and learn something new. However, let's get into these numbers. Again, for those who do not know, Sue Bird just won her 4th WNBA championship. LeBron James just won his 4th NBA championship. That is what we are covering, the series stats for each of these players in their respective series. So let's start with the one everybody's always knows about. Everybody knows pretty much all of these stats, all of the lines I'm going to give about this young man. And let's just say these two players exhibited what I would consider finals mastery. Finals mastery. Also, let's get out of the way. The Seattle Storm, Sue Bird, Brittany Stewart, they swept the Las Vegas Aces. There was no losses for them within their run for the finals. They also did not lose, leading into the finals. So they swept going into the finals, and then they swept the finals. LeBron James and the Lakers, however, played a total of 6 games. So they did take 2 losses, and you will see me discuss that as we get through this. So let's begin with age, amount of years played, years drafted, and the build of these players. LeBron James is 35 years old. He has played 17 years in the NBA. He was drafted in 2003. He is listed at 6'9", 250 pounds. Sue Bird is 40 years old. She has also played 17 years. She missed a year, and then there was, I believe, a sit-out year as well. One injury year and a non-play year, basically. And she was drafted in 2002. Hence the reason the explanation of the years matter. She would technically be a year or two ahead of LeBron on paper, but that is not the case in actual amount of seasons played. So let's talk about this. So as I said, the Lakers played 6 games. They went 4-2. The Storm played 3 games. They swept. The WNBA plays a best of 5 series. The NBA plays a best of 7 series. So LeBron needed 4 games. Sue needed 3. The averages for these players, points. Now I'm going to read each side individually. A lot of times I'll bounce back and forth. I'm not going to do that today. For points, LeBron James averaged 39.4 points, 11.8 rebounds, 8.5 assists, 1.2 steals, half of a block per game. Sue Bird averaged, and LeBron averaged that in 6 games. Sue Bird averaged in her 3 games for the finals, 7.6 points, 2 rebounds, 11 assists, with 0.6 steals and 0.6 blocks in that series. If you understand, you understand. If you don't, you don't. If you look at a lot of the WNBA players, there are plenty of players averaging 19, 16, 20 plus. They are there. There are not a lot of players in the WNBA averaging double-digit assists. There's a lot of players getting high number of assists, but double-digit averages, that's not a thing. And honestly, it's not really a thing in the NBA either. I don't want anyone to think that I'm saying, oh, it's not a thing over there. No, it's not a thing in general. To be someone who passes the ball at that successful of a rate, I mean, LeBron falls into that category, yes. But to pass the ball at that high of a rate and people are just like, oh, well, they didn't score that much, you're going to lose. Just going to tell you right now. On average, I believe Sue Bird's plus minus was a plus 15 for the series, a plus 15. And LeBron, I want to say, was around. Let's see if I remember this, because I didn't write LeBron's down. I'm going to be honest about that. So let's say LeBron is around. Okay, he'd probably still be around a plus 20, honestly. Maybe a plus 18-ish. So what I'm looking at is you want to see, on average, how beneficial it is to have these players on the floor, right? That's why I always start with averages and percentages. How beneficial, before we know what they did, before we know what their stat line was for a game, before we know how many total points they scored in an entire series or an entire season, what were their percentages? What were their averages? How honestly beneficial was it for them to be on the floor? Because there are times with any sport where there's a player who's on the floor and they're a huge drag. And it doesn't mean that they're not a good player. It just means that they may not be fitting the scheme. Timing might be off. The other team may have game planned appropriately for that player and maybe not someone else. That's why coaches are coaches. And there's about 7, 8 assistant coaches and trainers. And so let's understand averages and percentages on for a regular base. That's what's going to let you know who was putting in work. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean this is the best or worst player based on their percentages. Something I say very, 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 very frequently is Kobe Bryant never had the highest 3-point percentage. There were times where he might have made the most shots, but he never had the highest percentile. The reason he was never in the highest percentage. The reason is he shot plenty of shots, made some that people were just amazed by. I was amazed by, but there were a lot of shots that were questionable. If they didn't go in, somebody would have said it was a bad shot. And if you understand that aspect of sports, that is normal. If you miss, it's a bad shot. That's just the opinion of most. If you make it, it's a good shot. If you understand shooters in sports understand this. Only good shots are the ones I shoot. The only bad shots are the ones I don't shoot. That's pretty much it. Doesn't matter if they go in or not. My job is my job. Now, from a percentage rate, if you've watched in the past, again, WNBA stats are not difficult, but they take a little more work to compile. Bear with me. I didn't get anything messed up. Just bear with me. So, LeBron James had an average through this series of 59% through the finals of 2020. 3-point percentage of 42% for LeBron James, and a free throw percentage of 67% for LeBron James in the 2020 NBA Finals. Now, Sue Bird in the 2020 WNBA Finals was no slouch at all. She had 38% from the field. Now, keep in mind, she also averaged 11 assists for the series. She had 38% from the field, 45% from the 3-point line for Sue Bird. Now, this was one of the most interesting stats for me, not the 3-point percentages for Sue Bird. Sue Bird did not shoot one free throw in the entire WNBA Finals. Don't believe me? Go look it up. Sue Bird did not shoot one free throw in the entire series for the WNBA Finals. I don't really know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but it is a reality. It is what happened. Now, for a 0% free throw, that was interesting to me. I've never seen that before. I've seen 0% free throw. I've never seen anyone not shoot, especially a higher level player, not shoot at all. Now, before I move forward into totals, I want to make it very clear and give a shout out and pay respect to Breanna Stewart. She accomplished and achieved her second WNBA Finals MVP award. And in game 1, game 2, game 3, she was there. She did her thing. But in game 1, she came and she put the world on notice. Like, hey, I'm still here. Hey, the pandemic ain't slowed nothing down. Hey, there's a reason we're back in the finals. She had 37 points, 15 rebounds, and 2 assists. 37 and 15? Was it? I'm sorry, I also forgot. And 4 blocks for Breanna Stewart in game 1 of the WNBA Finals. Whew. Like, man, just set them ablaze. I say that to go back to what I kind of opened with, which is, before I get to the totals, I want to make it very clear. This isn't about the WNBA Finals MVP and the NBA Finals MVP. This isn't about, oh, we're just going to glorify the 2 best players on each team. Sue Bird is no longer the best player on her team. Just in case you didn't know, she's no longer the best player on her team. That's not what this is about. This is about paying respect to 2 players who have entertained us for the last 17 seasons of their lives, of their career, and gave us an amazing show. They both came full circle this year. Year 17, ring number 4 for the both of them. That's an accomplishment. That's what this episode is about. Now, totals. Keeping in mind, LeBron James played 6 games. Sue Bird played 3 games. In Sue Bird's 3 games, she had a total of 23 points, 6 rebounds, 33 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks, 6 turnovers, and had a total of 6 personal fouls. She played a total of 79 minutes and 10 seconds in the WNBA 2020 Finals, which the WNBA 2020 Finals was a total of 120 minutes, 40 minutes per game. She played 79 minutes and 10 seconds of those 120 minutes. LeBron James totals for the NBA Finals 2020. He had a total of 179 points, 71 rebounds, 51 assists, 7 steals, 3 blocks, 21 turnovers, and was responsible for 13 personal fouls. Now, again, before I go to LeBron's next stat that I accounted for, remember, Sue Bird did not shoot 1 free throw. She had no free throw attempts in the entire final series. LeBron James, however, shot a total of 42 free throws in the finals and made 23 of his 42 free throws in the final, which gave him, again, a total of 67%. LeBron played 236 minutes in the NBA Finals. The NBA Finals series was a total of 288 minutes, 6 games at 48 minutes. LeBron played 236 of those minutes. Both of these players came and they sweat everything they had into that hardwood. Well, not into the hardwood because, you know, we got the towel boys and kids coming with the, never mind. However, what I was truly amazed by wasn't the total stats. It wasn't just, oh, what did they accomplish altogether? Oh, individually, when you look at each of these games, there is a reason that both of these players are on their 4th championship. Again, you can look at numbers and tell if a guy knew what, or if an athlete knows what their job is. You can look at a stat line sometime and say, hey, they had a really great stat line, but that's not their job. It's happened. One of my favorite stat lines is there was a string of games that Dennis Rodman had when he was on the Spurs. I want to say the first few games, he scored a few points, like 15, something like that, 17, right? 20 some odd rebounds, I think almost 30 rebounds. And then the next 2 games or 3 games, he didn't score at all, but he consistently had 20 plus rebounds. You have to know what you're out here for. I believe that in anything in life, you must know what you are there for. What are you good at? What is your niche? What do you contribute? If you don't know what you contribute, you're not a part of a team. And if you think you contribute everything and you can do everything, you cannot be a part of a team. That's not how teams work. But leaders understand what they need to change, and they understand what someone else needs to change. Leaders understand whether or not they can change the other person. They understand what they can change to still get the job done. Don't believe me? Got proof right here. Game 1. LeBron James had 25 points, 13 rebounds, 9 assists, 1 steal, no blocks, 2 turnovers, 3 personal fouls. LeBron was a plus 10 in the plus minus for game 1. He shot 53% from the field, 50% from downtown, and 83% from the free throw line. Tells me a guy that kind of understood his job, right? 25, 13, and 9. Those are the top stats we like to look at. Oh, what was the stat line like? 25, 13, and 9. Oh, that boy was going crazy, wasn't he? That's typically what you say. But, some of these people, when I say these people, I mean some of these athletes, they have some pretty biased fanships or fan bases. Good and bad. Good and bad. I think it's a great thing for people to be that passionate about something that they enjoy. That's where I'm going to leave that. So, Sue Bird, game 1. Now, remember, I've already capped Breanna Stewart, the WNBA Finals MVP, had 37, 15 boards, 4 blocks, and 2 assists. Let's pay really close attention to something really quick. You have to have someone get the ball to the people who are scoring, right? So, Sue Bird in game 1 had 2 points, 5 rebounds, 16 assists for a playoff record. Not a Sue Bird playoff record, a WNBA playoff record. 16 assists in one game. Now, in that same game, Sue Bird had no steals and no blocks. She had 3 turnovers and also had 3 personal fouls. Sue Bird's plus minus in game 1 was plus 24. Plus 24 for Sue Bird in game 1 of the WNBA Finals. She shot 20% from the field, 0% from the three-point line, and 0% from the free throw line, of which she took no shots. Now, again, when you understand what you're there for, if I'm Sue Bird or if I'm any player and I see my teammate going off 15 boards, 37 and 4 blocks, listen, she came out the gate giving you those. I don't have to shoot. I'm only shooting the shots I absolutely have to shoot. I am working the ball around until we can get it back in your hands. Hey, Breanna, okay, so I understand you didn't get open last play. We're going to get you open next play. You understand? That's how I'm going to get to 16 assists. And most importantly, that's how we're going to win that game. Game 2. In game 2 of the WNBA Finals, the Seattle Storm had 5 players in double figures. So whereas game 1, Breanna had to come out, didn't have to, but Breanna came out just scoring at will. Sue Bird made sure to hook her up with whatever passes she could, just dropping dimes all over the place. I'm pretty sure the ball boys or the kids that got to sweep up and mop up, they were getting tired of picking up change, all those dimes being dropped. But in game 2, 5 players were in double figures. The entire team came and said, hey, if you're going to do that, and if you're going to do that, we got your back. We got your back. Sue Bird in game 2 had 16 points, 0 rebounds, 10 assists, 2 steals, no blocks, with 2 turnovers and 0 personal fouls. You mean to tell me she hooked up 10 people with the ball and didn't foul nobody the whole game? That's control. That is a lot of control. So to add to that, Sue Bird shot 67% from the field for game 2, 57% from downtown for game 2. And again, no free throws in this entire series for Sue Bird. I'm not quite sure still if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but she did not shoot 1 free throw in the entire WNBA Finals. With a plus minus of 9, plus 9 in game 2 for Sue Bird. Do I have to say again, when you understand what your job is, you're just going to hook it up. 16 and 10. Double, 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 double. I mean, again, my sports fans out there, you guys know we go crazy for double doubles and triple doubles. Oh, they got a double double. They was going crazy on them. Sue Bird dropped a double double, 16 and 10, and didn't foul anybody the entire game or get any free throws. So maybe it was the refs. Who knows? Game 2 for LeBron James. He had 33 points, 9 rebounds, 9 assists, 1 steal, 1 block. No turnovers in game 2 for LeBron James with 2 personal fouls. 56% from the field for LeBron James in game 2. 38% from the three-point line for LeBron James in game 2. 40% from the free throw line in game 2 for LeBron James, with a plus minus of +7 for LeBron James in game 2. Now, if you do not know, the Lakers didn't win all these games, but they did win that one. So what we come to now is what I call a pivotal switch of the tide, a pivotal change. I did not see game 3 coming in the NBA Finals. I'm just going to be honest. Once we were told as fans, it was announced that certain players would not be available for the Miami Heat, I originally had it, 5 or 6. I started thinking it could be a sweep after Bam was out and Warren was out. But then game 3, I believe that was when Bam came back, game 3, and then, or game 4 maybe. But either way, game 3, I'm just going to read LeBron's stats, man. Go look for it. So in game 3, LeBron had 25 points, 10 rebounds, 8 assists, 0 steals, 2 blocks, 8 turnovers with 2 personal fouls, with a plus minus of -4 for LeBron James, shooting 56% from the field, 20% from the three-point range, and 67% from the free throw line for LeBron James in game 3. The reason I say that game 3 was a pivotal switch, I mean that for both teams. Game 3, a lot of people, especially in some of the circles that I frequent and I've heard, a lot of people expected the Storm to lose. Nobody expected them to sweep. Not one sports circle I was in did I hear anyone allude to the thought of the Seattle Storm getting a sweep, even after they were up 2-0 and this was a win or go home game for the Aces. I didn't really have an opinion, if I'm being honest, on who was going to win that game. I would have liked to see it go a little longer, but I didn't have any real stake in it. I wasn't worried whether or not the Storm was going to win. Honestly, after game 1, I figured it was going to win. That's not fair to the Aces. They played their butts off. They played a great series. But if I'm being very honest, game 3 was all she wrote for them. It wasn't a blowout. It wasn't like this tragic game where they didn't show up. But there comes a point when you watch sports for so long where you kind of understand when one team has an advantage. I'm not going to say that advantage was Breanna Stewart, but that advantage was definitely partially Breanna Stewart. And that doesn't mean that she's unstoppable, but she understood what is needed of her. Like, if I'm being honest, if Breanna Stewart doesn't win about 2 or 3 more rings in her career, I'd be surprised. And I thought that with Sue Bird, Diana Taurasi, a bunch of them back in the day, and they all have come full circle and gotten their rings. So I think Breanna Stewart is right there behind them. Now, game 3, WNBA Finals, Sue Bird's stat line of appreciation. In game 3, Sue Bird had 5 points, 1 rebound, 7 assists, 2 blocks, 1 turnover, no steals, and had 3 personal fouls, which means she just had to get a little more physical for this game. And if you ask me, someone who's won a few championships already, you understood that the eyes were on her. She understood the eyes were on her a little bit already, and she switched her game once again. Game 1, she was a distributor. Game 2, she was playing both sides, she was scoring and distributing. Game 3, it looks like she really just came and said, hey, I'm going to play my role, and I'm going to ensure that, the other team knows what we're here to do. So if I got to hit a couple of people a little harder than usual or put a little more spunk on it, I'm going to do that. Of course, I'm going to pass the ball. I'm Sue Bird, right? But of course, I can also score. I'm Sue Bird. So she's going to demand attention, right? And there you have it. Sue Bird, after her 3 personal fouls, she has a plus 12 for game 3 of the WNBA Finals. She shot 33.3% from the field, 25% from the 3-point line. And again, Sue Bird had 0 free throw attempts for the WNBA 2020 Championship Series. Saying all of that brings me to the end of Sue Bird and the Seattle Storm's chase for a ring, because that was the night they closed out. They won. They swept. Like I said, they swept. They closed out the series 3-0, and they got to go and enjoy their championship and their victory. And from that point, at the time, Sue Bird was 39. She, a few days later, turned 40. And I know she's just enjoying that, right? Like, you're 40, you just became a 4-time champion. Not to mention the Olympics and everything else. Gosh. Who knows what's next? She might come back and retire. I don't think she needs to. I don't think she's close to retirement. She might pull a Tom Brady or a Brett Favre on us. And I say that because if you know football, those guys were playing 42, 43. I think Tom is 41 now. Either way, what I'm looking at with Sue Bird, if she comes back and plays with the Seattle Storm 1 or 2 more seasons, you might see a back-to-back or a three-peat. You just might. Not because, and I want to make this very clear, I don't believe there is any real overbearing dominance when you get to the upper tier of the WNBA. There's a few teams that are up there, and these are the teams that are going to be in the talk. But the Storm, the Mercury, the Lynx, I want to say the Liberty. There's a couple of teams that, if they have the right pieces in the right place and everybody's healthy, listen, you just got to watch out. And I think the Storm has always been one of those pieces. One of those teams. Sue Bird is one of those pieces. And when they got Breanna Stewart, it really just gave that whole team and the whole revamp of everything they were doing to rebuild that roster, it put them in the right position. And I am again going to say, if Sue Bird returns, they have the right type of veteran leadership. You get me? So everybody can't teach you how to win. Some people can teach you how to play, but everyone cannot teach you how to win. So Sue Bird and the Seattle Storm were champions after game 3. However, LeBron James and the Los Angeles Lakers were not quite there yet. In game 4, LeBron James scored 28 points. He had 12 rebounds, 8 assists, 1 steal, 0 blocks, with 6 turnovers and 2 personal fouls for LeBron James in game 4. LeBron James had a -2 plus-minus in game 4, shot 50% from the field, 40% from the 3-point line, and 83% from the free throw line. Game 4 for Sue Bird was non-existent. They were already champions. Now, LeBron had a great game, 28, 12, 8. He's on the journey, though. This is a mission. Understanding at that point, the Lakers, it was tough, man. It was tough. Real tough. So after that, it was, okay. Well, Sue got her fourth. This is just me thinking, how would the mindset be working? These guys are locked in the bubble. All they have time to do is think sports, right? Well, Sue and the Storm just won. I won my fourth. Now, at this point, you think, oh, he's going to start breaking down Jimmy Butler and LeBron. That's not this episode. But game 5, going towards his 4th NBA championship, 4th NBA ring, while Sue Bird was already enjoying her 4th WNBA championship and relaxing with her family and her friends. LeBron James in game 5 scored 40 points, had 13 rebounds, 7 assists, 3 steals with no blocks, 4 turnovers with 1 personal foul. In game 5, LeBron had a +7 in the plus-minus category. He shot 71% from the field, 67% from the three-point line, and 67% from the free throw line for LeBron James in game 5. Again, there was no game 4 or game 5 for Sue Bird in the WNBA finals because they were already champions. Also, moving into game 6, Sue Bird was able to hang out and probably watch game 5 and game 6 of the NBA championship because the WNBA championship had already ended and she had her ring. Now, in game 6, LeBron James scored 28 points. He had 14 rebounds, 10 assists, 1 block, no steals. 1 steal and no blocks. Got you covered. With 1 turnover and 3 personal fouls for LeBron James in game 6. He had a +18 in the plus-minus category, shot 65% from the field, 20% from the three-point line, and 25% from the free throw line. I will admit and say it for you. Yes, there was a bit of a decline by game 6. However, you would have never known that if you watched game 6. That was a closeout game that you had to see to believe. When I say these 2 players arrived, when I say these 2 players, I mean LeBron James and Sue Bird. They knew that their opponent knew once they suited up, there was an entire night of work in front of them. Doesn't matter who else is out here with me. And yes, there's plenty of other talent that I can hook up and get in their groove, and then we'll be good. But if Sue Bird's on the floor, she averaged a +15 for the series. You better keep an eye on her. You better make sure that you understand what type of plays she's calling. I'm just going to go out there and say I'm pretty sure she's an on-court coach, right? LeBron's an on-court coach. You need leaders. You have to be a leader to get to 4 championships, rather in the WNBA, the NBA, or any other sporting arena. Now, within both of these stat lines, both of the series stats for both of these players, again, what it showed me is you have to be a leader. You have to understand your job and everyone else's job in order to get there. Now, please, I encourage you, take the time to go and look up more of Sue Bird's accomplishments. Take the time to go and look up more of LeBron James' accomplishments. They both broke playoff records in their respective leagues during this finals, in fact, for both. If Numbers Could Talk is here to address the numbers, bring certain things to the light, make you a little more curious about what these players do and what they accomplish. We don't want to just talk emotion all the time. Sometimes we have to know the facts to support our emotions. Is LeBron James great? Of course he is. Did he do what needed to be done for his team to win the NBA Finals 2020? Of course he did. Is Sue Bird great? Of course she is. Did she do what was needed for her team to win the WNBA 2020 Finals? Of course she did. Now, the only thing I can say is, when I approach anything, I want to approach it like a LeBron James or a Sue Bird approach their 4th championship. I want to understand what my job is. And I hope that everyone else out here does too. Now, what I really enjoyed about researching LeBron James and Sue Bird's 4th championships was the things that I want you to go look up. There are some very cool stats and intriguing also. Sue Bird, along with LeBron James, are 2 players that get brung up in certain discussions. And I'm not quite sure if Sue, we know LeBron, like I said a little earlier, they all have certain fan bases that go a little over the top. But with Sue, I know that everyone is not aware. Everyone is not familiar with Sue Bird. I can walk out to a local gym right now, start talking about Sue Bird, and someone, not anyone, most of them may know. Most of them will know. It's a basketball gym, but there will be someone who goes, is that Larry Bird starter? No. And that's why this is an appreciation episode, so that we appreciate the great talents that we get to watch, that we get to be entertained by, the people that give us their time, their energy, their effort, that take time away from their families, so that they can not only win their 4th championship, but so that we can watch them win their 4th championship, so we can be just excited as they are. You don't think Seattle just sat there and said, oh, well, they won the championship, that's all. No. And there's going to be a parade, or there's going to be some type of celebration. We are in different times. I can't say if there's going to be a parade. And the same goes for the Los Angeles Lakers. You can't possibly think that they won. If you watched your news coverage for the next night, at least or the next morning, you saw some things that happened the night of the championship right here in this good old city of Los Angeles. So no, they're not just playing for themselves. They're playing for us, the fans. We watch, we love, we enjoy. So what I think we should do is we should take the time to analyze some of the numbers that they've put up, to analyze some of the effort that they've put in, and not be so critical all the time about the things that they lose or the times that they don't get where we want them to. My name is Keelan. This is If Numbers Could Talk. Please visit thinkering.space, www.thinkering.space, to view more of If Numbers Could Talk podcast, and or to take a look through and maybe become a fan of some of our other podcasts. Thinkering Talks, The Thinkering Report, Plank with Joe, Exofathom, and of course, If Numbers Could Talk. We also have merchandise. Please get your merch. Please subscribe on our YouTube. Take the time to scroll through all of our web pages, go through our social medias, break it all down. Tell us what you think. Give us some feedback. And most importantly, love yourself, take care of yourself and those around you. Thank you.